Hey, I'm Holly Bryant. Today I'm going to talk to you about the compensation plan and the two ways that you can make money with SeneGence. The first way being wholesale to retail. Um, you'll make retail profits based on how you order and how much you sell. And you can also become eligible to make commissions on your downlines as well as group sales volume bonus on also on your downlines. So I'm going to start off by talking about the wholesale discounts. So for $55, you become a distributor basically, and that allows you access to the wholesale prices on all SeneGence products. So I broke this down on this slide right here because for me, it takes me a minute to compute how this makes sense. So hopefully, because it makes sense to me, it'll make sense to you. These are the levels, the discount levels. So 50% is the deepest discount that you are eligible to get as a distributor. And so if you buy smartly and reorder at the right times, you should always be getting that deep discount of 50%. Then you can turn around and make a 50% profit margin on everything that you buy. So that basically means every time you sell through all your inventory, you'll be doubling your money. So that's what you shoot for. So here's the different levels. It makes sense to me to think of it in terms of retail product carded. So if I cart $1,500 worth of product, when I check out, I'm going to pay $750. If I cart between $600 and $1,499, when I check out, I'm going to get 40% off and pay $300 to $749, and so on and so forth. You see the rest of the chart. There is a perk if you joined before February 18th at midnight. You're part of a program called the Fast Start program, and you are eligible to receive a 50% discount on when you cart $600 worth of product each time you check out within your first 90 days. There is another side note that, if you decide $750 is too much to put up front, and say you're somewhere in this region, you joined after February 18th, so you're not eligible for the 50% on 600 retail. So say you think 40 is enough and ordering smaller is better for you right now until you grow your money. I think that's a great strategy. So you'll land somewhere in here and you'll get 40% off your product. And the side note that I wanted to bring up is that say you order multiple times during that month, but you just do it in smaller increments based on your sales. Once you do hit $750 after discount, so $1,500 retail carded for the month, and you pay, basically you're paying out $750 after your discount, that'll make you eligible for 50% off for the remainder of whatever calendar month you're in. So say you get to that 750 using 3 different orders, but you do get to 750 mid-month. Well, anything after that point, even if you go in to buy a bottle of mascara, it's going to be 50% off. So once you meet that threshold, and that's kind of confusing for some new people because they get these emails that say, you have 301 PV, you have this much to go until you reach 750 for the month, and that'll make you eligible for 50% off. And they're thinking, wait, didn't I get 50% off? Or, so it can be confusing, but that's basically how it works. So once you hit that 750, it is March 7th, and I've already hit my 750, but I did it in 3 separate orders this month just because of the out of stock issues that we've been having. So I like to order in smaller increments and get more variety of product. But I have hit my 750. So from here on out for the rest of the month, if I see colors that I like, I can go in and do a really small order for exactly what I need and still get that deep discount, which I highly recommend you go for the 50% off. So those are some strategies to think about as far as wholesale to retail. Now I'm going to go into the, let's see, I'm going to go into the commission plan. This is the part that makes a lot of people nervous because they don't really love being involved with direct sales, recruiting, MLM, the stigma that goes to it. But after you get comfortable with the wholesale to retail portion of it and you're finding that people really like the product, and maybe even some of your customers and clients are asking you like, hey, how do I sell this? Like, I think I would like to sell it to my family and friends rather than like referring them to you. Like, you might not even be recruiting on purpose, but people might be coming to you because they love what you're selling them so much. So as this happens, and maybe you are comfortable with recruiting, and so this is something you're interested in learning about, but so as that starts to happen, just keep this in mind, because you're gonna be like, wait, how does commission work again? And like, how is this gonna benefit me? So basically there's two different types of commissions that you're gonna earn. One is your downline commissions, as you can see here on the left-hand side, and this is just a roll-up of the percentages. I'm going to go into some examples on the next few slides, but I wanted you to see this on one screen while I kind of give the background so you can kind of absorb it, because it's a lot to take in. I've watched some YouTube videos on compensation already, and it just, I haven't found one that really deep dives into all the details that I want to hear. Like, I read the policy, I have it in front of me, and I'm going to make sure you guys have the nitty-gritty details and some examples so that you can really understand it. And if you don't understand it the first time, watch it again and like just let it soak in. Talk to your upline about it. Okay, and so the second way to earn commission is called the group sales volume bonus, and that's so the downline commissions is based on your, well, let me talk about PV really quick. So PV is, in the US, PV is equal to 1/2 of the US retail value assigned to a product. That's straight from the policy. So if you cart $1,500 worth of product, that will count as 750 PV. So the reason why they have to go with a PV and a point value system is because this is sold in multiple countries and they have to like make it one language monetarily. So the PV factor for the US is 1/2 of the retail value of the product, okay? And another abbreviation you're going to hear is CV. That's your commission value. And in the US, CV is equal to PV, because right here in the policy, it says CV equals PV times 1 in the US. So we all know from elementary school that anything times 1 is itself. So for purposes of the United States, PV and CV are the exact same thing. So if I say CV, you can in your mind interchange that with PV. And if I say CV, it's probably just because we're talking in terms of commissions. So just have patience with that. And I know it's a new language to learn, so I will try and delineate that as much as I can for you. Okay, so your downline commissions is based on anyone that you've recruited under you. It's based on their first 100 PV of their orders for that month. So and I'm going to go into the examples, but so just keep in mind, it's just the first 100 portion. If someone placed a 300 PV order, the downline percentage is only based on the first 100. So that amount is going to be set every single month. If you have someone, if you have 5 people on your first line making orders, it doesn't matter if this one ordered 1,000 and this one ordered 300 and this one ordered 600, because it's based on the first 100. So 100 times 10%, the 10% right here, right? Your 5 on your first line, 100 times 10% is going to be $10 every single time. So everyone on your first line that orders over 100 PV, you're going to get 10% of that, and so on and so forth. 20% for your second, 30% of 100 is always going to be 30, 5% of 100 is always going to be 5, and so on. So those numbers will be set every single time as long as you qualify yourself, and we're going to go into that later. The GSV, now this is where the big money comes in, okay? the GSV is based on 101 and beyond. So if someone made that 300 PV order, the first 100 is already accounted for over here in the downline commission. But 101 and beyond, that 101 to 300, that is where you're going to get the remainder of your commission. You get commission on every piece of what your downlines order, okay? So your first line, the remainder, they're going to get 10%. So what does that mean? Your first line, you get 10% flat out, no matter what, as long as you qualify for that commission. So if someone orders $1,000 PV on your first line, you're going to get $100 every single time because it's 100 or it's 10% straight across. Now it gets a little trickier on your second line because you're getting 20% of 100 and then you're getting 6% of the remaining. So that's where it gets a little bit trickier, but I think that as we go through this, you'll see how it works. So let's see. I kind of went over this. So the downline commission examples, downline commissions are paid on the first 100. I think you've got that. PV, just as a reminder, point value is used to qualify for commissions and bonuses. It's for the purpose of talking commissions and bonus language, okay? It's like talking currency or percentages. Like PV is just the language of how SeneGence is gonna communicate your commissions to you. So, and all you need to know is that PV is equal to 1/2 of the US retail value assigned to a product. So now that we've got that down from before. Okay, so I wanted to kind of widen my screen here a little bit. Hopefully I didn't lose you there. Downline commissions for lines 1 through 3. To qualify, you have to have placed 100 PV or more within the qualifying month. Now, one of the frequently asked questions that I read was, is it a 30-day period or is it a calendar month? And it is verified per the policy that it's a calendar month. So commissions is all in terms of calendar month. So as long as you've placed 100 PV or more, which we've just learned is $200 of retail product, right? Because 1/2 of the retail value of what you've purchased is PV. So as long as you've purchased $200 of retail product and paid $100 after your discount, then you'll be qualified to earn your downline commissions on lines 1 through 3. So this is going to happen regardless of all the other stipulations you've heard about as far as like having 5 qualified on your first line and all that. This will happen regardless, okay? So this is your minimum payout as long as you're placing a 100 PV order. So let's look at this. First level, like I was saying and giving you a little example before, 10% of 100 is always going to be $10. So if you have 5 girls on your first line, that's going to be $50. See that? 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. That's assuming they all placed an order. If someone didn't place an order, obviously there's no 100, first 100 of their order to get a commission on. So assuming they've placed an order, you're going to make $10 off of each person on your first line. Second level, $20 for everyone on your second level who orders. That'll be, if you have 5, like my example here does, that'll be $100. Okay, and say you have 5 people on your third line for purposes of this example, you will get $30 per person on your third line. So that would be, for this example, $150. And so for lines 1 through 3 on this example, you would get $300 in downline commissions for that month using these numbers. So that's not too shabby considering all you have to do is order 100 PV yourself. And then everything under you is just going to come to you regardless. So that's $300 easy dollars. To me, that's an easy mathematical decision to make. If I know I'm going to make $300 from commissions, I'm for sure going to place a $100 order, PV order, so I can get that 300 because 300 is more than 100. And so basically I get $100 PV worth of product and I get some extra cash from my commissions. So it's a mathematical decision every single time, especially since orders are not required. You can look at what you might stand to make on your commissions and weigh that with where you're at on your inventory and all that. So it's a mathematical decision every time. So $300. Okay. Downline commissions for line 4. There are some special qualifications in order to get that. So I'm going to go through those and you can see them on the screen there. So read them with me. To qualify for your 4th line, you have to have ordered 200 PV, so that they kind of up the ante on you there. That's another mathematical decision. If you have a lot of people on your 4th line already, you need to be thinking about this, okay, in terms of that. So you have to have ordered 200 PV or more within that qualifying month. You have to have at least 5 distributors on your first level who've ordered 100 PV within that qualifying month. Now, the number that you always hear thrown around is your first 5 on your first line, you have to get 300 PV orders. Not for downline commissions. That's GSV. So just going through this and the nuances for each thing, I want you to know exactly what you would qualify for and not qualify for if, say, 4 out of 5 of your first line, one of them doesn't place a 300 PV order. You would still stand to make your 4th line here based on that. So getting back into the qualifications, levels 1 through 3 must have a group PV of greater than 10,000 within the same qualifying month. So that's another thing you're going to have to keep track of in back office as far as making sure that you have that combined PV for levels 1 through 3. So per this example, right here I'm showing you what the requirement is. You have to have ordered 200 PV, and this is your first level. See that? That's the qualification. You have to have gotten 5 people on your first line who've ordered 100 PV, and you've ordered 200. So if you've done those things and you have the 10,000 for 1 through 3, then you're going to get your 4th line commission on downline commissions. And so looking down here on the example, if you have 5 people, which it would probably be more because as you go down the lines, it kind of expands exponentially. So on your 4th line, you would stand to make $5 for every person on your 4th line, which for this example, I only put 5 on there just to make things easy. So that would be $25 that you would qualify for based on having done all these things above. So that's that. And line 5 downline commissions. To qualify for line 5, you have to have ordered 300 PV or more within the same qualifying month. So here's where the 300 PV, ding, 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 starts coming in. That's the number you always hear because it's just easier to remember to place 300 PV, especially when you start to have a lot of downlines. So 300 PV to qualify for your 5th line, you have to have at least 5 first level distributors who've ordered 100 PV within that same or 200 PV. This is wrong right here, but it's right down here. It's 200. I'm just gonna double check that. Yep, it's 200 as per the policy. So I'll go and change my PowerPoint after this. This should say 200 right here, but I do have it right down here on the example. So you've ordered 300, your first line, 5 of them. Say you have 10 on your first line. They don't even all have to do it. 5 of them have to have placed a 200 PV order to help you qualify for your 5th line downline commission. And then keep in mind this number, 15,000, you have to have a group PV greater than 15,000 within the same qualifying month. So if you've met all those qualifications, you will get 5% off of the first 100 of all your 5th line downlines. And so for this example, I just put 5, which it'll probably be more because like I said, it grows exponentially as you go down. And so for this example, it would be 5% of 100, which is always going to be 5. So 5 for each person, and that will leave you with 25. Group sales volume. This is where the big money comes in. So keep in mind, this is paid on the total PV of all your downline distributors within the same qualifying month minus the first 100. So if you're trying to do a calculator and figure this out, do not include the first 100 of their order because you've already been paid a downline commission for that. So the numbers for group sales volume are just a little bit different. So you have to separate it and delineate that. So here's the qualifications for GSV. It's paid, like I said, on all of your downline distributors minus the first 100 PV. And to qualify, you have to, for your first line, this is going to go line by line. For your first line, you have to have qualify, you have to have ordered 100 PV during that month. And the payout is 10%, like we were saying on the first slide, 10% straight across the board for all your first lines. So 10% of any of your first line distributors who order more than $100. So if they order 101, you're going to get 10% of $1 for the GSV. But, you know, typically it's probably going to be around 300, between 300 and 750 is where the orders are going to lie. So, you know, if it was 750, well, let me go through the example. I already did some examples mathematically. So there's also no minimum amount of first line distributors. That is great. So that means however many people you recruit on your first line, you're always going to get 10% of everything they order. Everything. No other requirements other than the 100 PV up here. See that? Okay, so let's go through the numbers. If you have someone who ordered 1,000 PV, for this example, it would be 1,000 PV minus the first 100 because that has already been paid out on downline's commission. So that leaves you with 900. The GSV eligible PV for GSV is 900, and then you'd multiply that by 10%. So $90 would be the payout on the remaining balance of that first line's order. Let's see, going through, I've gone ahead and done the math on the rest of my examples. So 10% of 700, because 800 minus 100 is 700. So 10% of that is 70, and so on and so forth. That's how you come up with those numbers. So for this example, and for these numbers going across your first line, for this example, you would have $320 in group sales volume bonus for your first line. For lines 2 through 5, this is where it can get tricky, guys. To qualify, you have to have ordered 300 PV or more within the same qualifying month. That's where people are always throwing that around, like 300, 300, 300, you know. So that's why it's thrown around so much, because it's so important to qualify for your GSV. So here goes, 2nd through 5th level. There you are. You've ordered your 300 PV. Here's your examples. You have to have each, in order to unlock the line below it, you have to have ordered 300. And to unlock your second line, I've not put the first line on here because I'm just trying to show you 2 through 5. But in order to unlock this, you have to have your first line, 5 people on your first line that have placed 300 PV orders. And then when you get to your second line, although you're eligible to get the GSV, you won't get it unless you have 5 on your second line who order 300 PV or more. So in order to get that second line, you have to unlock your first and second levels with 5 people on each line that have ordered 300 PV, okay? So that is the requirements, and it unlocks as it goes down. So if you've unlocked the second line by having the first and second line complete, you'll unlock your third line by having 5 300 PV orders from your third line people, and you'll unlock your fourth line by having 5 on your fourth line, and you'll unlock your fifth line by having 5 on your fifth line who've ordered. So as you go down through, that's how it unlocks. And then here's the math behind it. So if you've done that and you've unlocked all your lines by having 5 on each line, ordering 300 and more, that's why it's so important to build your lines really wide, because I never want to be that person pressuring someone to order. I want people to order when they can and when it makes sense. So recruiting's very important so that you don't have to be that guy. So here's the math behind it. Second level is 6%, third 4%, fourth level is 3%, and fifth level is 2%. It seems like it's not going to add up that much, but it really will, because it's based on the whole remainder of their order. And if they are ordering big, it's going to add up so fast, especially since these lines will probably be more full than your first line. So for this example, if that first person on your second level ordered $300 PV or 300 PV, remember to subtract the first 100, so that leaves you 200. And so there's 200 eligible to be multiplied by 6%. So that's going to give you $12 for the GSV bonus. And I went ahead and did all the numbers here, so you can go back and check my math if you want to. But for a $1,000, I keep saying dollar, but I mean PV. For a 1,000 PV order, you're going to make $54 off of someone who does that on your second line. So 700 PV order from someone on your second line is going to give you $36. And that's not counting the downline commission that you've already been paid on the first 100. So this is just the group sales volume. And for this example, I'm just showing you 5 on each line, but it would probably be more like, 10 on your first line, and then it would just balloon out from there. Okay, so your fifth line might have like 30 people down there. So these little $16 and $4 and $18, those are going to add up huge. But anyway, for this example, here's what it would add up to be if you just had 5 on each line and you were able to unlock each line by having 5 people on each line with $300 PV orders. So the total here would be 381 for this example. So I hope all those stipulations and nuances made sense. It might make more sense after it happens to you for the first time and you get your commission and see how it works. I'm going to read some of the frequently asked questions straight from the policy. And most of it's straightforward, but if I have something to add to it, maybe I can shed some light on something for you. So, okay, here we go. If downline commissions are only paid on the first 100 CV of a distributor's order, is that the only part of the order that is commissionable? Remember, CV is the same as PV in the United States. So the answer is no. The balance of the order, CV, is commissionable in the group sales volume bonus, which we just learned. Okay, the second question. If a distributor places more than one order in a given month that is in excess of 100 CV, does the downline commission get paid out again? No. Downline commissions are paid on the first 100 CV in a given month. After that, the balance of the order goes into the group sales volume bonus. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Third question, to receive the 10% group sales volume bonus on my first level, do I need to have 5 first level distributors that have each placed 300 PV in a given month? And we just talked about this when we were talking about unlocking the levels and how it applies to downline versus GSV. So the answer is no. The payout is 10% on your first level as long as you have achieved 100 PV in the month the orders are placed. Okay, here's the next question. To receive 6% bonus on my second level, do I need 5 first level distributors with PV of 300 each and 5 second level distributors with 300 PV each? And we just talked about this. To unlock your second level, you have to have 5 on your first level and 5 on your second level to even be eligible for that second level GSV. So the answer is yes. Remember that these 5 first level distributors that qualify you for the group sales volume bonus beginning at level 2 must be personally sponsored by you and must also have 300 PV. Okay, next question. If a certain level does not fulfill its qualification for group sales volume bonus, can you skip that level and go down to the next? No. So if you can't unlock your second level or your third level, or so be it, you will not get the 4th and 5th and whatever comes below it. You have to unlock each level as you go down. And once you do, the next level down will be eligible to you as long as you get those 5 distributors making 300 PV orders. Is a month a 30-day period or a calendar month? We went over this. It's a calendar month. If I have a first level distributor that does not place an order in a given month, but some of her downline does, would I still receive downline commissions on those distributors? Yes, you get your downline commission. So you will get that. If I have a first level distributor that does not place an order in a given month, for purposes of downline commission, remember that's the first 100, does the next level get moved up, aka compression? No, downline positions are permanent and do not compress. You still receive commissions for all levels you qualify for on the rest of your downline. Downlines will stay in place. So that's the first 100, okay? Next question. Where in the compensation structure does levels moving up, or aka compression, occur? Compression will occur in group sales volume bonus commission structure. If you have a distributor on a given level that does not place an order in a given month, that downline will move up a level for percentages paid on various levels at that month. So you will get some compression, but not all. So it's important to remember where the compression occurs. Does a compressed distributor on my second line who has placed an order and moves up into my first line due to the recruiter not placing an order that month, will it count towards my first 5 distributors that I need to qualify for the GSV bonus on levels 2 through 5? No. If someone has compressed up to your first line, you'll receive the higher bonus percentage once you're qualified to receive them. However, the qualifications to be paid on your 2nd through 5th line begin with the first 5 first line distributors that you've personally sponsored that have 300 PV. So if someone compresses up, you're not personally sponsoring that person. That's why it can't happen. So each level of qualification for the group volume bonus must be fulfilled with at least 5 personally sponsored distributors from the upline distributor. So I will receive the higher bonus percentage resulting from compression, but it will not begin the qualification process for the payout of group sales volume bonus unless at least 5 on my first level were personally sponsored by me, and so on and so forth for all of the levels. And the answer is that is correct. So hopefully you have found this to be useful to you. I like to know all the little nitty-gritty details myself, so I read the policy, I laid out some examples, did some math so I could see how it was going to go, and hopefully you'll be able to use that and understand where your commissions are coming from and be able to explain it to potential recruits who are interested. A lot of them are interested in the potential of the wholesale to retail aspect of it, and that's great. It can start there for sure, but you may eventually have to explain commissions and the importance of how much you need to order to qualify for all your commissions. So hopefully you found that useful. I will see you all soon. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit subscribe. You can find more training like this on our channel and our team page called SeneGence Sisters. We're willing to help anyone. Have a great day.